Hi, I'm Rongxiang, and welcome to Fragments of Power, a podcast where we talk about how global governance actually works, especially when the system feels like it's falling apart. Today's ep- episode is a bit personal, but also based on what I learned in the MGF 5760 course at Monash University. The big question I want to explore is this. In today's world, where things feel more divided than ever, how do countries like mine, big companies, and new tech actors shape what global governance looks like? And what does it really mean when we say the system is broken? Or maybe it's just changing. Let me take you back to where this all started for me. Geneva. I was at the UN Climate Summit as a junior collegiate from a rising economy. I was excited. Huge halls, important people, flags from everywhere. I thought, wow, this is where the real decisions happen. But the moment they started talking about who should take responsibility for climate change, things got tense. Rich countries avoided saying much. Countries like mine wanted fairness. We've contributed less, but we're being hit hard. Our delegation spoke, but no one really listened. That night, I felt frustrated, not because of the science. We all know climate change is real, but because of the politics. The system that's supposed to help us felt stuck. Later in the course, I learned this feeling wasn't just mine. It's actually what a lot of scholars talk about. Global governance today is complicated. It's not about one group or one solution. We learned about different theories. Liberalism says we can work together if we build good rules and institutions. Realism says power matters most. And critical theory says, hey, who made the rules in the first place? Peace talked about how many global agreements, like the UN climate one, often just reflect what powerful countries want. That made sense after what I saw. That same night, I went to the side event hosted by a bunch of multinational companies. No flags, no big speeches, just presentations and contracts. They were launching something called the Green Supply Chain Compact, basically a set of private rules about emissions and sustainability. Nobody asked what our country thought, but the truth, they didn't need to. These companies were setting their own standards, and soon everyone else would have to follow. That includes governments, factories, even us, the consumers. This is what we later discussed in week 8, private environmental governance, and in the reading Under the Influence. We saw how MNCs can sometimes act faster than governments, especially when global negotiations fail. It made me wonder who gave them that power, but also, are they doing a better job? That was hard to answer. As I kept learning, I realized something. Governance isn't a top-down thing anymore. It's messy. It's everywhere. Power doesn't just come from speeches or seats at the UN. It comes from who writes the software, who runs the platforms, who collects the data. A year later, I got invited to a tech for forum in Singapore and on AI governance. It was a small event, but the questions were big. Should there be international rules for how AI is used? Should countries agree on limits? Or should companies decide? A woman from Kenya stood up and said, AI is shaping our lives, but we weren't even invited when it was being designed. That woman stayed with me. In his guest lecture, talked about how governance is falling behind technology. And yeah, he's right. Algorithms now decide what we see online, how resources are allocated, even who gets hired, and most of us have no idea how it works. So, who's in charge? Who's watching? So, what did I take away from all this? I learned that global governance isn't gone. It's just changing shape. Stephen and Parizek call it institutional drift. For me, it feels like patchwork. It's not clean or perfect, but it's holding things together. Now we have BRICS building their own banks, cities signing climate deals, NGOs running fact-checking platforms, and yes, companies writing their own global rules. It's confusing, but maybe it's also flexible. Maybe we don't need to fix one system, but instead understand that there are many and they overlap, argue, and adapt. If you ask me now, do I believe in global governance? I'd say yes, but not in the old way. I believe in shared voice, in small groups doing big things, in trust built across borders, not just at the top. And I believe that students like us, we are not just watching. We are part of the change. We ask questions, connect the dots, and maybe someday help write the rules too. Thanks for listening. This podcast is based on the amazing discussions and materials from MGF 5760 at Monash University. Thank you so much.